fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Hello, Salt Strong Nation. Joe Simons, like diamonds. Got my main man, Pastor Johnny Kelly. Back in action, dude. Looking good.
Yeah, I try. I'm just, I'm living the dream, and I'm trying to keep up with you, Mr. Simons. It is good to be with you again, man. It's been a little while, and so.
Yes, we John and I were talking offline, just catching up in general with this whole pandemic and COVID and how churches are handling it. And I told him about my past Unchurched that I just did solo, talking about everything good in life comes from some type of struggle. And that seems to be not just the mentality, but it's just the honest truth of how a lot of people are feeling right now, and in terms of finances and their job and just life, right? I mean, even with kids right now, it's tough. I mean, no one even wants to have summer camp for our kids. I mean, it's just, everything has been a challenge. Everything just feels like a struggle right now. And Johnny had brought up this whole detour versus bridge. And the second he said it, was like, man, we've got to get on a podcast and record this. And the general idea is, so many of us, in terms of how we verbalize things, in terms of talking to friends, how we even write on Facebook, we're always saying, I can't wait to get back to normal, or I can't wait to get back where we were or where I was. And Johnny's point is, when you actually ask someone, like, were you actually happy at that spot where you were? And the majority of us will say, no, actually, I wasn't. And if that's the case, why the heck are we trying to get back there? And so that's kind of the big picture. Talk about your analogy and your message to your congregation here recently on this.
Yeah, for us, just like everybody, as a church, we were affected greatly through COVID. A lot of people in our church lost jobs. A lot of people lost hours. Well, like I'm sure a lot of people watching and listening to this. And so because of that, our giving has dropped drastically. And, we talked a few months ago about the new building we had moved into, and we're having to move out of that building already. We had like 10 or 11 services there, and then COVID hit. And it's one of those things where we're just in a weird predicament. And what I approached the church with was this, is that I think that so many, like you said, not just churches, I think businesses, I think families, I think people are taking the approach of like, I'm going to hold my breath and get through this. If I hold my breath, hopefully this happens quickly. We get back to where we were. But the vast majority of businesses, churches, families, all that stuff, I'm not saying that we were completely unhappy with things or where they were, but most of us wanted to be somewhere better than where we were.
Yes.
Before this all happened. That wasn't the end goal. The end goal was something better, something different. I see that especially in churches and especially in businesses, but in families as well, man. I love my family. My family's great. I know you love your family. Your family's great, but where we were in February, is that like where we want to be with our families? No, like I want something bigger and better and greater for my family. But the world as a whole has taken a hold your breath, get through this approach. And they've really treated, I think, what's going on as a detour.
Explain what that means.
Well, like, what is a detour? A detour is, the road is closed. There's construction, there was a wreck, whatever. And so what do they do when you go on a detour? You turn off the main road. You turn off the road that you were on, the path that you were going, you turn it off. And more times than not, you end up turning into some neighborhood that you've never been into, that you've driven by a million times, but you've never been in there. And and you're confused and you're trying to find your way, you weave your way through a place that you don't know, that you've never been to, and you end up wasting 20 minutes and 4 miles to get back to the place where you started from. Just to get back to where you were, you wasted all this time sort of snaking through some neighborhood, finding your way, because, you know, they never put detour turn signs everywhere.
Why can't there be some cones around here, huh?
Yeah,
give me some cones.
Just you have plenty of guys on the main road. Put one dude here just pointing like this way, dude, right here. But they, you know, and so we treat, where I think a lot of people are treating what the world is going through right now like a detour. Like, I hold my breath, I'm going to get and basically almost writing off everything that we can grow and learn from in the middle of all of this. Basically, like you said, all great things come from, you know, trials. I mean, it's hard. I mean, you can't think of anything throughout history that is considered great. None of it came easy. George Washington didn't win the Revolutionary War by like eating Funyuns on a couch. Like he was out there on the Potomac. I don't know if that's where he was, but he was fighting a war. Everything that's worth doing is a struggle. It just is, because there's something great on the other side of that struggle, and that struggle teaches you learn from it, you get stronger from it, you become more agile and more ready to take on what the world brings. But that's not the way we're treating this right now. We're treating this like hold your breath, like we're treating it like curl up in a ball, like a bear's attacking you, and hopefully it'll go away soon. And then we can get up and start moving along. Yeah, we've got puncture wounds, but we're just going to keep going instead of letting it be something that can grow us into something better. And so for me and for us as a church, what I told our church, and really what I think is a good word for all of us, is that there is you can treat this like one of three things. What's going on in life, and it's not even just for just COVID. This is, I think, for any time that you're going through struggles, a dead end, a detour, or a bridge. And the Bible never takes us to a dead end. God's goal is to never walk you to a place and say, okay, you're done now, you're stuck, and then leave you. That's not what God does. And so we can choose then to say, hey, well, I'm going to make it a detour and waste my time and get back to where I was, which wasn't my goal, but at least I know it. Or we can embrace the hard time and say, I'm going to make a bridge. And for us, we're using it as a bridge. You know, a bridge is a weird thing because a bridge is hard to go over. Like we talked about on other podcasts about me doing the bike thing where I rode my bike across the country. When I first started doing it, I was living in Miami, and I had to train to ride across the country. And riding across the country meant I was going to go over the Grapevine Mountains in California. I was going to go over the Rocky Mountains. I was going to go over the Appalachian Mountains. Like I was going over some mountains, and climbing some stuff. And if you're training for a ride like that while you live in Miami, there's only one thing you can do, and that's ride bridges. And so I remember spending weekends riding over the Key Biscayne Bridge, not in Miami. And it's not a huge bridge, but it's big enough. And I would go up it, and it's a pretty decent incline. It's not a really long bridge. It's a rather short bridge, but it has to go up high enough for some of these big boats to get under. So it's a fairly steep bridge, and I would go up it and go down the other side, and then turn around and go up it and go down the other side. And I would do that for 6 hours, 8 hours. I would just do that over and over and over again, because I knew that there was going to be times when I had to go uphill for 6-8 miles.
There were some fishermen there at the bottom watching you. He's like, what is this guy doing?
And it is tough, man. Like there's a term when you bicycle or when you do extreme like distance sports like that, like extreme marathoning or Ironmans or long bike rides like that. Because I mean, there were days when I was riding 150, 200 miles a day, and there's a term that they call it bonking. The term bonking it's a funny term, but what it means is like there's sort of two walls that you come to whenever you're doing long distance or like extended athletics like that. The first one is the wall that you come to in your brain, like I can't go on. Yes, you can. It's in your head. You just got to get past it. The second one they call bonking, and that's when your body puts up a wall and says, and so your mind is still good, but your body says, nope, I'm done. Like, and it is the strangest feeling. I've had it happen to me twice. You can watch videos of people doing it. There's videos of people that are running like the Ironman and they get 100 feet from the finish line and it looks like their body forgot how to walk. And they're just like trying to just sort of, and you'll see them get on their hands and knees and even crawling takes them it's like they're willing their body to do it, because what happens is your body just shuts off. And I remember the first time I ever bonked was riding the Key Biscayne Bridge. I'd been riding it for 7 or 8 hours that day. And I finally get up to the very top and I'm about to crest the hill. And just as I'm coasting over the top of it, my legs stop moving. And I'm going, what's going on here? I didn't know anything about this stuff. I was so new to this stuff at that point. And I remember like I basically couldn't move my legs and I just sort of coasted down the hill and then just coasted off into the grass and just sort of fell over on my bike. I couldn't unclip my shoes from the pedals. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move. Like my bodies went, nope. And it shows you how tough a bridge can be. Like it's hard. And in the analogy of it being in our lives, it's hard. It's uphill. It's work. It's not easy. Just like right now, life is not easy. It's hard. It's work. You have to work extra hard to try and maintain some semblance of normalcy for your family, for your work. People, losing jobs, people working in different places, people, sadly having to try and find a job in an environment where it's hard to find one right now. Whatever it is, trying to just pay bills, things like that. It's just hard and it's uphill, and you can either choose to curl up in a ball and try and just detour it and get back to where you were, or say, you know what, I'm going to use this bridge to gain some strength to move forward. And the cool thing is that a detour takes you off the main road, makes you go off in the middle of nowhere, and then puts you back on the main road, puts you back where you were, heading in the same place you were going. But a bridge, it takes you somewhere that you couldn't have gone had you not been willing to go through the pain of going over that bridge. It takes you to a place that you could never have gotten to if you stayed on the path that you were on. And for so many of us, the path that we were on wasn't a bad path. Spiritually speaking, relationally, family, work, whatever. It wasn't necessarily a bad path, but it wasn't necessarily the path that was going to lead to the place we wanted to go to. And the place that we wanted to go to was, somewhere that was going to require us to go over a bridge. And right now we're almost forced into a position where it can be the go-to moment to go over that bridge, to get to a place that is different, that is better. It takes you from a new place, where you were, to a new place where you couldn't access before. And, rather than, we didn't see all this coming, everything, I can tell you that, like, for us as a church, nobody knew COVID was going to do this. And before COVID hit, we were live streaming our services, and I use that term really loosely. We had a camera set up off to the side. It was like an afterthought. It was a grainy picture. Didn't look great. It was just there so that if you weren't at church that Sunday, you could watch. a lot of churches might have done something like this if they were doing anything at all. And then all of a sudden COVID hit, and now every church is live streaming, to many different degrees of quality and stuff like. And all of a sudden we went, hey, we need to make this a viable place where we can do ministry, where we can reach out and touch people, teach people, love on people. And so we put a big focus into it, and we've watched. It was hard. It's a hard move for us to make that move. It's hard to go from being a church that's super relationally built. Like, we're a church that's family. We want to be around each other. We're friends. We want to hang out. To go from that to fully online was tough. But we didn't want to just detour it. So we bridged it and said, let's make this better than it's ever been. And we've sunk a ton of energy into making it better. And we've watched our streaming numbers go from a couple hundred people watching our service each week to a few thousand every week, all in the last 4 months. And it's sort of maintaining like that. I would have had a hard time answering the question whether or not we could actually have a real church online a few months ago. But now I feel dumb for thinking that it's obviously, yes, we can. God's plenty big enough to work through a computer. He works through a Bible that was written a few thousand years ago. I'm pretty sure he can use the internet. He's smart enough to handle it, and we treat it like a bridge, and it takes us to a place that, so many people that I'm a little sick and tired of the term, the new normal, because everybody says it and we all hear it. The problem is that the way most people are treating it isn't the new normal. They're trying to get back to the old normal. And they're resenting the new normal. They're resenting that instead of saying, hey, because you can choose to resent all the hardships that are going on right now, or you can choose to grow from it. Either way, you're going to go through the hardships. Like, you're going through it. Like, there's nothing we can do about this right now. Like, you can't fix this. Nobody can. A lot of people are trying to blame people for it, but the truth is that the whole world is walking through this, and there's nothing we can do to change that. We can try and alleviate it and try and make it quicker and try and fix. There are things we can fix, but the truth is that no matter what, we're walking through a hard time. And you can choose to grow from that and use it as a bridge to the new place you want to go to the real new normal. Or you can get angry, get upset, and just make your way back to where you used to be. But I don't think most people want to be there. I think they want to be somewhere different.
I love it, man. I'm trying to put myself in other people's shoes. I think the struggle, Johnny, is a lot of people, they would completely agree with this. And then it's like, all right, but like, where's the other path? Where is this bridge, right? Just like if you're on that road and all you see ahead of you are signs that say detour, you're not seeing this bridge. And I feel like that's what a lot of people are going through right now, is they're not seeing that opportunity for, like you said, to grow. And sometimes it's because it's scary. Sometimes it's very, very fear inducing, like anxiety inducing, like, well, gosh, I just don't want to. That's almost worse than just me doing the little detour and getting back to where I was. What are your thoughts?
I would say that a lot of that comes down to your mindset. You're the way you look at life, the way you're looking at the situation in life right now. You're never going to see opportunity if all you're doing is seeing the negative. If you are a person that's looking at this and all you see is the negative, then you're never going to see the positive opportunities, the chances that you could go. You're never going to. So many people right now just they've held their breath and they're holding on, and they're not allowing themselves to dream on how they could do something bigger, do something greater, that they could grow from this, that they could walk through it. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. It's hard, but I don't have all the answers. Like I don't have all the answers for my church right now. Like I don't. Like we're having to leave our building, and I don't necessarily. I have places, I have ideas, and I really feel like God's speaking to me and teaching me and helping us grow. And I think we're going to go to a better place than we ever would have gone before. I do. I fully believe that. But I don't have all the answers right now. It's not about having all the answers, it just like on a bridge, like you don't always know what's on the other side until you go over it. But it's being willing to look at what's happening right now, what's going on in your life through a different set of eyes. If all you're doing is looking at what's going on in a negative light, if all you're doing is saying, I'm going to hold on to get back to where I was, and you never look at it as a way to grow or how you can make it better, then yeah, you're not going to see the bridge. You're not going to see a way forward. But the truth is that all through the whole Bible, God never led his people to a dead end. And even in the midst of scary moments that felt like dead ends, they weren't even detours. They were bridges. Like, we can go through a million stories in the Bible. The story of, Joseph, in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, Joseph in the coat of many colors, he was told by God he was going to be a ruler. He was going to be a big time dude. And then, so what happens next in the story? He gets beat up by his brothers. He gets thrown into a well. He gets sold into slavery. While he's a slave, he gets wrongfully accused and thrown into prison.
That seems a whole lot worse than what I'm going through in life right now.
It does. It does. And it also seems like a pretty dead end and probably not like the path to become a ruler. The story of Moses and the Israelites, Moses feels like God wants him to deliver the Israelites. The Israelites were slaves in Egypt and wants to help deliver them out of slavery. So what's he do next? Well, he sees an Egyptian beating an Israelite, so he murders the Egyptian. His plan fails. He runs away. Moses runs away, runs to the far side of the desert, and just becomes a shepherd for 40 years. Doesn't seem like a good path. I mean, he ran to the other side of the desert. Does not seem like for 40 years, does not seem like a good path for him to lead the Israelites out of slavery. It feels like a dead end. It feels like, or the best, a detour. But honestly, it's what it feels like, and even once things changed around, the Israelites, their slavery for years and years, it got worse and worse and worse in Egypt. At one point, the Egyptians basically said, hey, not only are you going to make bricks to build our buildings and our pyramids and stuff like that, but you're going to have to go harvest your own straw to do it. And you still have to keep making the same number of bricks. Like, life got worse and worse and worse for them. And then what did they have to do? They had to sit there and live through 10 plagues after 400 years of being slaves. And then finally, Pharaoh let them go. And what do? They walk right up to the edge of the ocean. And they're standing there with the ocean or the Red Sea in front of them. And the Egyptian army starts coming at them from behind. Like, it feels like a dead end. King David in the Old Testament, we've all heard of King David and Goliath, David was anointed to be king. What did he do next? He went back to being a shepherd and became an errand boy for his dad. Then he became a harp player for the king at the time. But that king was evil. He was horrible. And so what did that king do? That king said, I'm making you an outlaw. Turned David into an outlaw. David started running. He was captured by the enemy multiple times. His own men were trying to turn him in. And every single step seemed to take him further and further away from the throne that he had been promised. And in all these stories, though, it wasn't the end, and it wasn't even a detour. They really were bridges to take them to a place that they never would have been able to get to had those things not happened. Had this virus not happened, I would have never made online church such a priority for our church. And now we've got people around the country that are watching us each and every week that are hearing it. I was able to lead somebody to Jesus on Facebook, help them find a relationship with God on Facebook that lives on the other side of our country. I did that this week. multiple people from around the country, some people from other countries that are watching what we're doing. And the truth is that, Romans 8:28, the Bible, it says that we know that in all good things, God works for the good of those who love him. God does good things for those who love him. And we all want that to happen quickly. We all want that, like, okay, the bad thing happens, we pray the next day, and by the next day, everything's fixed. But that's not the way God works. God's not a sitcom. Like, it's not like you open up with a funny story, then you have like this moment of dissension, and then by the end of it, everybody's happy and copacetic again. Like, that's not the way God works. A lot of it comes down to, if you want to find the bridge, you have to be able to trust that God's in control and trust that he's going to lead you to a great place, and stop looking at the negative and stop looking at all the bad stuff and start saying, God, show me how you want to use this, how you want to use me, how you want to grow me. I mean, the truth is that it took a day for Joseph to go from being a prisoner to being the prime minister of Egypt. After all that stuff he went through, it took a day. But it didn't really take a day. It took him being beat up, thrown into a well, sold into slavery, going to prison for years. And then in one day, it happened real quick. But it was a lifetime of bridge.
It's a big bridge. That's a tall bridge.
Yeah. David went from being a fugitive to king in one day, but it was a long way. The Israelites, they went from being slaves to free in one day, and then they walk up to the edge of the Red Sea, and it felt like a dead end. But what did God do? He separated the Red Sea. They walked through it, and there is a path. We just don't see it always. I imagine the idea of the disciples at the foot of Jesus at the cross, and they watched Jesus' head fall as he dies. And, we 2020 vision in the rear, we know the end of this awesome story. And so we know that on Sunday morning, Jesus rose again. But can you imagine how it felt in that moment that this guy that you've followed, that he's been your teacher, your friend, your leader for years, dies, and it feels like the end? The truth is that no matter how bad things the pain in your life that you're walking through, the hardship that you suffer, God's not leading you to a dead end. It may feel like it at times. It may feel like everything is lost, but the Bible says that he's working everything for your good, but you just have to trust him and understand that sometimes it happens quick, and sometimes it takes 40 years on the other side of a desert to get there. And I believe this is what, God wants us to follow, and that he has a plan to make these things better, to get us to a place that isn't just where we were, but I think the place where he really wants us headed in the bridge. It just takes being able to not look at the negative and say, instead of looking at what's happening in the world, look to God and let him help direct your path and help you find the way.
Dude, it's powerful, man. We're going to end on that. Let everyone know where they can go see you now that you're everywhere, because you are.
Yeah, man, we're putting so much stuff online. Over the last 4 months, we went from doing just one video a week. Right now, I believe we're over 250 videos that we have put out in the last 4 months. Just so we're putting out devotional. It's a lot. It's a lot. We're putting out devotionals every day of the week. We have kids services going out a couple days a week, multiple kids services, obviously our Sunday morning service, but you can find, go to discoverfamilychurch.com. And there are links to everything right there. We stream Sunday morning there on our YouTube page and our Facebook page. So like, share, subscribe, smash that subscribe button. I think that's what the kids say these days.
Yep.
Smash it. But we post find us on Facebook. Just look up Discover Family Church. It's in Lakeland, Florida. Putting up stuff all the time. It's a great way to connect with other people. get prayer, pray with people, talk with people. But we're putting up stuff all the time, and you can email me, Johnny@discoverfamilychurch.com. If you need prayer, you have any questions, I'm here.
Cool. That was awesome, brother. It's good to have you back on the show. This was a very meaningful and very pertinent and a very timely message. So thank you. Bridges, not detours. Everyone go make sure to check out Pastor Johnny there at Discover Family Church, and make sure to subscribe to everything they're doing, subscribe to what we're doing, and then ultimately share this. The reason we do this, we don't have ads on this podcast. We've never asked for money on the podcast. We just want you to share this message with someone who might need to hear it. So thank you guys so much for all the love, all the support. We are out. I will talk to you on the next episode.
All right. Peace.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was past